Longest Yard was shot in a real prison, where 33 people died in one of the worst riots in American history. The football plays were designed by a Super Bowl-winning NFL head coach. Burt Reynolds played the lead in 1974 and came back in 2005 to play a completely different character. And Adam Sandler's throws were replaced by a different ball within 3 inches of leaving his hand. These are 12 weird facts you never knew about The Longest Yard. And the bonus? The film was the highest-grossing MTV Films production ever made until a witch hunter comedy took the record. Number 1. Burt Reynolds played the lead in 1974 and came back in 2005 to play a completely different role. In 1974, Burt Reynolds was Paul Crewe, the disgraced quarterback, the role that made The Longest Yard what it was, and cemented Reynolds as one of the defining stars of 1970s American cinema. In 2005, Reynolds came back, not as Paul Crewe, Adam Sandler had that, but as coach Nate Scarborough, the prison's resident football sage who becomes the inmate team's coach and the closest thing Crewe has to a mentor inside the walls. A different character, a different function. The same film's universe 31 years later. Reynolds wore number 22 as Paul Crewe in 1974. When he returned as Scarborough, he wore number 22 again. The same number on a different jersey for a different character in a different decade. Nobody made a point of it on screen. It was just there, a quiet callback sitting in plain sight for anyone paying close enough attention. Reynolds was also nominated for a Razzie for Worst Supporting Actor. The nomination covered 2 films simultaneously, The Longest Yard and The Dukes of Hazzard, both released in 2005. The committee apparently felt one nomination was sufficient to cover both situations. Number 2. The film was shot in a real prison, where one of the deadliest riots in U.S. history took place.
Smoke billowed from the windows of part of the prison as burning continued.
The film's prison, called Allenville in the script, set in Texas, was actually the old main section of the New Mexico State Penitentiary, located on Route 14, outside Santa Fe. Old Main had been closed in 1998 after decades of operation, under conditions that multiple investigations described as brutal, overcrowded, and chronically mismanaged. On February 2, 1980, a night that began with inmates fermenting homemade alcohol in a dormitory, a full-scale riot erupted. It lasted 36 hours. 33 inmates were killed. Over 200 were injured. The facility was left in ruins. One inmate later described the prison as 30 years behind the times. After closure, the state began making the building available for film productions. When The Longest Yard came looking for a location, the production needed a real closed prison that could be converted into a workable set. New Mexico won the bid. According to one behind-the-scenes account, Iowa, Illinois, and New Mexico had all competed for the location, with New Mexico securing it through a combination of tax incentives and no location fees. Paramount reportedly spent approximately $4 million converting Old Main into the film's set, adding a new facade, guard towers, bleachers, and 2 football fields. The economic outcome was significant enough that Governor Bill Richardson publicly celebrated landing the production. The film's fictional Texas prison was built on the bones of a real New Mexico facility, where dozens of people had died violently less than 25 years earlier. Number 3. The football plays were designed by a real NFL head coach. The plays used in the film were designed by John Gruden, at the time the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off the Super Bowl 37 championship, alongside Pat O'Hara, quarterback and offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Storm in the Arena Football League. The cast that ran those plays was largely capable of executing them. The inmate team was populated primarily with former NFL and Arena League players. They went through a 2-week training camp before filming. Not to teach them how to play football, but to play football on camera. The distinction mattered more than it sounds. Terry Crews, a former NFL linebacker who had played 6 seasons across 4 teams, described it as significantly less demanding than actual NFL training camp. "They didn't take it easy on us," he said. "NFL training camp is second to none in pain. But at the same time, they didn't take it easy on us." A real championship-winning coach's plays, run by people who had played the game professionally, filmed at a location that used to be an active maximum security prison. Number 4. Burt Reynolds refused his stunt double and took the hit himself.
Here comes the blitz. Swiatowski's so big, it's like being tackled by a Coke machine with legs.
The scene required Coach Scarborough to be run over by Brian Bosworth during a touchdown run. There was a double assigned to it. The double was prepared and entirely capable of absorbing the contact. Reynolds sent him away. His reasoning was brief. "I got one run left in me." Reynolds was 68 at the time of filming and had been dealing with health issues for years. The stunt was not designed for him. Nobody expected him to do it. The double existed precisely so he would not have to. Reynolds had been around long enough to know exactly what he was deciding. He did it anyway. Bosworth, in the former NFL linebacker turned actor, found himself having genuinely run over one of American cinema's most iconic stars. His reflection afterward was delivered with straightforward logic. Who else can say they got run over by Burt Reynolds? Nobody. The answer was nobody. Number 5. Chris Rock appeared in 2 films on the exact same release date. One as a prison inmate, one as an animated zebra. May 27th, 2005 was a good day to be Chris Rock. The Longest Yard opened that Friday with Rock playing caretaker, the wisecracking prison inmate who becomes Paul Cruz's closest ally inside Allenville. The man who knows where everything is, who everyone is, and how everything works. A grounded, funny, human performance in a live-action comedy about football and prison politics. On the same day, the exact same day, the same Friday, the same ticket counters, DreamWorks Animation released Madagascar. Rock voiced Marty the Zebra, an animated children's film about animals escaping from a New York zoo and ending up on a tropical island. Broad, colorful, aimed squarely at families. American audiences on May 27, 2005 could walk into one theater and watch Chris Rock playing a prison inmate scheming to help a disgraced quarterback beat the guards at football. Then they could walk into the theater next door and watch Chris Rock as a cartoon zebra learning what it means to be wild. Both performances on the same afternoon. Both films in wide release simultaneously. The only thing connecting them was the voice. Number 6. The opening weekend was the biggest of Sandler's career and almost made history.
Yes?
The Longest Yard opened to $47.6 million in its first weekend. For context, this was Adam Sandler, the man who had built one of the most reliable comedy careers in Hollywood through Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, The Waterboy, and Big Daddy. Films that audiences showed up for in significant numbers. Films that made money. None of them had opened like this. The $47.6 million figure was the largest opening weekend of Sandler's career at the time. A record for a performer whose entire brand was built around consistent commercial performance. It was also something more specific than that. It was the second largest opening weekend ever recorded by a film that did not finish number 1 at the box office. The only film in history to open bigger while finishing second was The Day After Tomorrow. The Longest Yard finished second that weekend. It was beaten at the box office by a film that opened on the same day. That film was also starring someone who was simultaneously in another movie. That person was Chris Rock. Madagascar beat The Longest Yard at the box office on the weekend they shared. Rock won both weekends simultaneously. His animated zebra outgrossed his prison inmate. The film went on to gross $158 million domestically and $191 million worldwide against an $82 million budget. It received 31% on Rotten Tomatoes. Both of those facts are true at the same time. Number 7. 3 states bid to host the film, and New Mexico was so excited to win. They had the governor call a press conference.
Welcome to Allenville.
Finding a real prison willing to serve as the primary filming location for a comedy about inmates humiliating their guards was not a simple logistical exercise. The production needed a facility that was closed, accessible, cinematically usable, and available for the extended period that a major studio shoot would require. Iowa wanted it. Illinois wanted it. New Mexico wanted it most. New Mexico's pitch was financially decisive, a 15% rebate on state taxes and no location fees. Iowa and Illinois could not match the combination. New Mexico won. Governor Bill Richardson was sufficiently pleased with the outcome that he held a press conference to announce it. A sitting governor of a U.S. state called the press together to tell them that Adam Sandler's prison football comedy was coming to film in New Mexico. The economic logic was sound. Paramount spent approximately $4 million on set construction alone, converting Old Main into Allenville by adding a new facade, outbuildings, guard towers, bleachers, and 2 football fields. The money was real. The press conference was real. The governor showed up. The production notes described the film as being set in Texas. Texas was not involved in any of this. Number 8. Terry Crews' character was written as fat and entirely rewritten around his actual body. Cheeseburger Eddie is one of the longest yard's most memorable supporting characters, the prison's black market food supplier, the man who can get you a McDonald's order if you have the right currency and the right connections. The joke of the character as originally written was physical. Cheeseburger Eddie was supposed to be fat. The name would tell you everything. A man who sells cheeseburgers and looks like he samples the inventory. Terry Crews was cast in the role. Crews is a former NFL linebacker. He played 6 seasons of professional football across 4 teams: the Green Bay Packers, the San Diego Chargers, the Washington Redskins, and the Philadelphia Eagles. He was listed at 6 feet 2 and 245 pounds during his playing days. He arrived on the set of The Longest Yard in the kind of physical condition that results from spending years being paid to be in that condition. The role was rewritten entirely to fit him. Cheeseburger Eddie in the finished film is visibly one of the most physically imposing men in the prison, a character whose entire comedic premise rests on the gap between what he sells and what he looks like. One of the more visually committed bits in the film exists entirely because the actor they cast was the opposite of what the script described. Number 9. Rob Schneider reprises his Waterboy role and delivers the same line.
Our justice system.
Criminals are people.
Rob Schneider appears in The Longest Yard and reprises his character from The Waterboy, delivering the same "you can do it" line. The same character, the same catchphrase, a completely different film. Sandler's films were operating as a shared universe years before. Shared universes became the dominant Hollywood framework. Nobody announced it. Nobody built a timeline around it. Schneider just showed up, said the line, and the audience who caught it got the joke. Number 10. Adam Sandler's throws were replaced by a different ball within 3 inches of leaving his hand.
Have a nice time, old man.
Yeah.
The film required Adam Sandler to throw like a former NFL quarterback, someone cut from the league under a cloud but whose arm had once been good enough to play at the highest level of professional football. The character's entire backstory depended on the audience believing the arm was real. The arm was not entirely real. According to ESPN's behind-the-scenes analysis of the production, Sandler's throws left his hand on camera and were replaced by a different ball within 3 inches of release, a Hollywood switch executed so close to the point of departure that the edit was invisible to the audience. The ball that sailed downfield, that landed in Michael Irvin's hands on a perfectly thrown bomb, that looked like the throw of a man who had played quarterback professionally, was not the ball that left Sandler's hand. Director Peter Siegel described Sandler in the film's production notes as quarterback of his Pop Warner team. Burt Reynolds told Stuff magazine that Sandler never played high school football. 2 people on the same production gave opposite answers about the same man's background. Neither answer ultimately mattered. The camera had already solved the problem 3 inches from Sandler's fingertips, and nobody watching the film could tell the difference. Number 11. The prison guard who harasses Sandler's character was Sandler's actual stunt double in The Waterboy. Michael Papajohn plays Guard Papajohn in The Longest Yard, one of the film's recurring antagonistic guard characters whose function is to make life difficult for crew and the inmates at every opportunity. In 1998, Michael Papajohn was Adam Sandler's stunt double in The Waterboy. The same person, 7 years apart. In The Waterboy, Papajohn was the body that took the hits so Sandler's body didn't have to. In The Longest Yard, he was cast as a character specifically designed to inflict punishment on Sandler's character. The man paid to protect Sandler from physical harm in one film was cast to threaten it in another. The credit that read, "Stunt Double Adam Sandler" in 1998 became an acting credit 7 years later on the same star's film. On the opposite side of the dynamic that had originally brought them together, the character's name in the film is Guard Papajohn. The actor's name is Michael Papajohn. They did not rename the character. Number 12. The cast includes 4 real NFL players, including one who became more famous for something else entirely.
Okay, fellas, it's pretty simple. You do a button hook, the rest of you guys block for me, I'll take care of the rest.
The inmate football team in The Longest Yard was not assembled from actors who learned to look like football players. It was assembled largely from football players who learned to look like actors. Michael Irvin, the Hall of Fame wide receiver who played 11 seasons for the Dallas Cowboys, plays Deacon Moss. Brian Bosworth, the former Oklahoma Sooner and Seattle Seahawks linebacker, plays one of the guards. Bill Romanowski, the 4-time Super Bowl champion linebacker, appears in the film's roster. And Terry Crews, 6 seasons across the Packers, Chargers, Redskins, and Eagles, plays Cheeseburger Eddie. All 4 went through the same 2-week training camp learning not how to play football, but how to play it on camera, from specific angles, at specific speeds, for specific shots. The man who became most famous afterward is Crews. His NFL career ended before most people knew his name. His acting career built on Everybody Hates Chris, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and The Expendables did not. He went from 6 seasons of professional football that most people have no idea he played to one of the most recognizable faces on American television. Bonus: the film was the highest-grossing MTV Films production ever made until a witch hunter comedy took the record.
Down, Shrek, down!
The Longest Yard was produced under the MTV Films banner, a label that had built its identity on youth-oriented comedies rather than major studio sports remakes with $82 million budgets and the largest opening weekend of Adam Sandler's career. The film grossed $191 million worldwide, the highest-grossing film MTV Films had ever put their name on, a record that stood for years. The record was eventually taken by Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters, the 2013 action comedy in which Jeremy Renner and Gemma Arterton play the fairy tale siblings grown into bounty hunters. It grossed $226 million worldwide. A film about a candy house and a witch outgrossed a prison football remake to become the most commercially successful thing MTV Films ever produced. The record that The Longest Yard held for years was taken by a film involving gingerbread and a broomstick. The math of Hollywood does not care how it looks. The Longest Yard didn't pretend to be anything it wasn't. A former quarterback, a team nobody believed in, a prison field that used to be something much darker, and somewhere in all of it, a game that actually meant something. That combination put $191 million in the box office and a Burt Reynolds comeback nobody expected. Because some movies earn their place not by being great, but by being exactly right. Throttle down. The game's not over yet. Thanks for watching.